Okay, let's be real for a second. If you ever felt that cold sweat staring down a massive 800-page government compliance framework, you are definitely not alone. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to transform a comprehensive 85-question compliance checklist into a dynamic, highly actionable health checkup for your organization. So if you've ever wondered how to make a dense document actually digestible and practical, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're unpacking the NIST SP 853 Revision 5 assessment. Let's dive right in by asking what is arguably the most critical question facing IT and business leaders today. How secure is your system against modern, expanded threats? Because, listen, we aren't just talking about your basic firewalls and antivirus software anymore. The whole landscape has fundamentally shifted. With the massive rise of supply chain risks and the absolute necessity of zero-trust architectures, legacy defenses simply don't hold up. This NIST revision directly addresses those complex realities, and we're going to unpack exactly how it transforms your defensive strategy. To make sense of the NIST SP 853 Rev 5 questionnaire, we're going to organize the framework into 4 key areas: identity, access, and personnel, protecting systems and data, managing risk and planning, and finally, incident response and recovery. Then, we'll wrap up with a look at how you calculate your overall compliance score. All right, Section 1, the NIST Security Checkup. Let's see how we actually tame this massive framework. The entire strategy here is all about consolidation. Reading the raw NIST document can honestly feel like trying to read a phone book cover to cover. It is a ton of dense ground to cover, with 17 distinct control families ranging from access control all the way to system integrity. But by chunking those 17 complex control families into 4 logical buckets, we significantly reduce the cognitive load. It makes the assessment highly strategic and actionable rather than just a massive, exhausting list of chores. Moving to Section 2, identity, access, and personnel. This is where we rigorously evaluate exactly who has access to your systems and how that access is actively governed. The framework really demands that we ask the hard, specific identity questions. Are role-based and attribute-based access controls actually implemented? It pushes further to ensure multi-factor authentication is strictly enforced, especially for privileged and remote access. But it also looks closely at personnel security. Just think about the danger of ghost accounts. You know, those profiles left active after someone leaves the company? They act as an open backdoor for attackers. That's exactly why the framework insists that access rights are revoked the exact moment an employee is terminated. We are making absolutely sure authentication is rock solid and the onboarding and offboarding process is tightly sealed. But beyond just software controls, you have to ask if your people are truly prepared. A once-a-year seminar just doesn't cut it anymore. Are your employees getting ongoing training tailored to their specific roles? Are they being actively tested with phishing and social engineering simulations? And crucially, you have to look at supply chain threats. Modern attackers will often just bypass your strong corporate perimeters entirely by using third-party vendors as stepping stones into your network. So training your team to spot anomalies in partner communications, that is no longer optional. You have to actively test and educate this human firewall. Let's move to Section 3, protecting systems and data. This builds straight from human access into the physical and technical protections of your infrastructure. Now, this standard goes way beyond basic configurations. Yes, it asks the foundational questions about software patches and baseline setups, of course, but it immediately elevates the expectation. You're no longer just building a static moat around your castle. You really have to ask if you've deployed endpoint detection and response technology, and if you have actively integrated zero-trust principles into your network security. The old idea of perimeter defense is dead. The framework expects intelligent, modern, and continuous threat detection everywhere. It also requires a deep dive into data integrity through an assume breach mentality. Basically, if the outer walls eventually fall, the data itself must be self-protecting. Are encryption protocols actively used for data both in transit and at rest? Is removable storage completely restricted? Are you strictly labeling sensitive information by classification level? And are software integrity checks conducted before execution? This all guarantees that even if a threat actor somehow gets in, your data remains scrambled, unusable, and totally unreadable. Section 4, managing risk and planning. Here, we shift focus upward to leadership, asking how the organization proactively anticipates threats. There's a massive strategic upgrade happening right here. Standard operations might just involve applying basic security patches and calling it a day. But the NIST assessment, it pushes organizations completely out of that reactive state and into proactive ecosystem management. It forces you to evaluate third-party vendors, rigorously assess supply chain risks, and utilize active threat intelligence to actually anticipate where the next punch is coming from. You have to manage the risk of the entire digital ecosystem you connect to, not just the servers sitting down in your basement. Cybersecurity literally needs a permanent seat at the boardroom table. Is it integrated into your organization's actual governance structure? Are specific, highly meaningful security metrics being tracked and reported to leadership? The framework demands regular, documented risk assessments and insists that a formal security plan is aligned directly with your overarching business objectives. Tracking these metrics and formalizing planning are not just compliance chores for an auditor. They are executive imperatives that ensure security is a business enabler governed from the absolute top down. And that brings us to Section 5, Incident Response and Recovery, because even the best plans and strongest defenses can occasionally fail. The questionnaire outlines a clear, ongoing life cycle for contingency planning. Having a documented plan is just step one, but a plan on paper is completely useless if it's never been tested in the real world. Step 2 demands tabletop exercises. Think of these as your organizational fire drills. You absolutely have to build that muscle memory before an actual crisis hits. Step 3 secures third-party response teams for escalation, and Step 4 mandates post-incident reviews to continuously improve your strategies. You have to live and breathe this cycle. Furthermore, your response capabilities are truly only as good as your visibility. You need automated alerting systems to detect security incidents immediately, but more crucially, you need pristine audit logs. Those logs must be collected, stored securely, and heavily protected against unauthorized modification or deletion. During the panic of an active breach, tamper-proof logs are your only objective source of truth. Without them, and without continuous system monitoring, you are essentially flying blind while your house is on fire. So after doing all that hard work across those 4 pillars, analyzing everything from your human firewall to the integrity of your tamper-proof logs, it all boils down to one vital metric: your compliance score out of a maximum of 85. But please, do not mistake this for a grade you just pin on the fridge. This assessment isn't a simple pass or fail exercise. Your quantitative score directly fuels the key areas for improvement and recommended actions. It turns the raw data of your 85 answers into a highly specific diagnostic tool. It shows IT leaders exactly where their security posture is weak, providing the exact empirical evidence you need to confidently walk into a budget meeting and ask for the resources required to fortify those gaps. I'll leave you with this provocative thought to mull over for your own systems as you reflect on this framework. Is compliance just red tape, or is it your strategic blueprint for organizational resilience? Use this 85-question checkup not as a chore to appease an external auditor, but as your internal, ongoing compass for genuine, modern cybersecurity health. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I hope it helps you and your team tackle NIST SP 853 with total confidence.